A warning, some viewers may find images in this next story disturbing. New figures reveal how Australia's crackdown on Kiwi criminals has caused an escalating crime wave in New Zealand.
Since Australia's tough deportation regime started, returnees have committed 9,000 crimes. Mitch McCann has this Because It Matters stories.
It's been 2 years since Jess Wheeler watched as her mum was held at knife point. The pair were at an Auckland mall on a girls' weekend when Laura was grabbed.
I would never have expected that's something that people would do, but now I've seen it, so I think about everything more before stuff happens.
Laura was eventually released and is now trying to move on. After this ordeal, it emerged her attacker was Eddie Tamatea, a Kiwi deportee from Australia. Tamatea is reported to have committed serious crimes in Australia before being sent here. His actions earned him 2 years in jail. And 16-year-old Jess is also finding it hard to move on after what she saw.
Sometimes when I'm doing something and I think about it, there's this feeling that I get in my stomach, like just anxiety, I guess.
Since 2015, Australia has so far sent back more than 2,000 people. More than half have now committed offences since being back in New Zealand. In total, they've now committed 9,000 crimes. These include hundreds of violent crimes like home invasions, assaults and child sex crimes, and more than 2,000 instances of dishonesty like theft. The headlines, and there are many, illustrate what has become a sore point in our relationship with Australia. The policy of deporting New Zealanders from Australia has deeply affected the trans-Tasman relationship in recent years. Part of our government's argument against it is the fact that many of the people sent here have spent very little time ever living in New Zealand, and many of them should be deemed Australians. The Prime Minister today reiterating what she calls extreme displeasure for the policy.
Undoubtedly, there is a correlation between this policy and the increase of new gangs in New Zealand. Unquestionably so. And we will keep sharing our view with them in the strongest of manners.
Advocates for deportees argue they are often drawn to crime because they feel so helpless here. It's not a new excuse, but people like Philippa Payne say the big problem is that the deportees are being left to fend for themselves.
The New Zealand government isn't offering or providing enough services and care for the men when they get here.
Jess Wheeler, very thankful to still have her mum, agrees something needs to change.
They just come back here and they're expected to just live a normal life, but their life is in Australia.
Except Australian politicians don't think so. They won't consider scrapping the deportation program. It seems Australia's biggest export to New Zealand these days is crime. Mitch McCann, News Hub.